What is the perfect movie franchise? Does such a thing truly exist? The License to Watch podcast sets out to answer that age-old question. Join comedians Matt McGregor, Harris McCabe, and Colin Shaw as they dissect your favorite film franchises one movie at a time. Along for the ride is a different film industry guest for every episode. Listen as the boys play judge, jury, and executioner and decide which of your favorite movie franchises are worthy of a license to watch.
Hello everyone, Screenplay Archaeology host KiramidHead here. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to get some intro stuff out of the way. First things first, we are now part of the Fandom Limb Media podcast network, so I'm going to link their site down below. And that's why you would have just heard a promo for another podcast, because they're another one of the shows on the network. And as per usual, if you like the show and you'd like to know more, you can check out our social media pages on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, and even Instagram now. The show also has a Patreon if you're willing to gift money, but you don't really need to if you don't want to. And we also have a Discord server, which you can join if you want to chat with, the group members there. So that link is going to be down below as well. So yeah, sit back, guys, and enjoy the show. All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Screenplay Archaeology podcast. I'm your host, KiramidHead.
And I'm Joejira, not to be confused with my brother, Luigi Joejira.
And that doesn't give away the subject matter for this episode, which I don't know why I always make that joke, because you clicked on it, you know what this is. It's like it's like YouTube movie trailers where they feel like they need to throw like a 30-second trailer in front of the trailer.
I rewatched Airplane recently, so my mind went to, they downloaded the link, they saw the title, I say, let them listen.
But no, today we're going to be doing Super Mario Brothers. It would have been the second script that was written before they eventually settled on the idea for the 1993 movie, aka the movie Nintendo hated so much they put a ban on all adaptations for a long time.
Yeah, and I suggested this because I got onto a Mario kick when the trailer for the new one came out. And also, I remembered I had this line on my hard drive for a few years, and I enjoyed rereading it that I suggested you to maybe do an episode for it.
Yeah, and it's actually, it's one that's like, it's always been like literally almost everything I have in my script file is like, oh, it's potential material, but I always forget about stuff or like I leave it sitting. Like I've left the Fantastic Four stuff sitting for the longest time.
I would really love to call one of those just because I'm a big Fantastic Four fan.
So many people have like expressed interest in that. I wouldn't know. I'd have to find some way to split it up.
You could do what you did with Planet of the Apes and just have one guest per episode.
Yeah, that's true.
How about we talk about our feelings with the final movie first before we dive right in?
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is, I don't think I've ever really played like a mainline Mario game. I've played a bit of Party, I've played a bit of Kart, and I've played a bit of Super Smash Brothers. I think that's about it.
It's a series I've always been on and off with. Super Mario 64 was the first one I played. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Really enjoyed Odyssey. It's definitely out of the 3D Mario games, that one feels like an actual true sequel to 64 compared to Sunshine or Galaxy. I think my favorite of the spin-off stuff has to be Mario RPG because it's a nice, easy to get you into the RPG genre.
Yeah, I'd imagine the Nintendo RPGs would be kind of like that.
That wasn't Nintendo. It was Nintendo gave permission to Square Enix back when they were Squaresoft to make it.
Oh,
because they wanted to have because this came out like right during the final days of the Super Nintendo and when the 64 was already out.
Okay, that would make sense. But the movie, I saw it. I had to have been like 3, maybe 4, and I remember I know more about the movie from people talking about it online later than I did from actually watching it. And we had the DVD sitting on our shelf here at home because my half brothers, they went through like a Mario phase when they were little, when they first got the Wii. And so we have like a ton of DVD compilations of like the Super Show, and we have that movie. And so I just said, fuck it, I'll watch it because we're doing this episode. And it's not, I will say it's not the worst video game movie I've seen. Like, I've seen Far Cry, so it's kind of hard to beat that. I've seen Doom Annihilation.
I've seen Max Payne.
Okay, that's one I've avoided. I've seen Alone in the Dark.
That Max Payne was even confusing because I didn't even play the game before I saw that movie. That was simply a case of family want to go into theaters. I didn't want to see the movie they did, and the only thing that could match the time that they were going to head in and head out was that movie.
Ooh. Yeah, I've never played Max Payne either, so I'm going to avoid that one just for the sake of it.
I have a weird fascination with the Mario movie. I saw it on TV probably when I was 7 or 8 years old when it was playing on the Disney Channel. I was channel surfing. I remember pretty well. I was in my parents' room. They were busy watching something more important on the downstairs TV I wasn't interested in. I was channel surfing, landed on the Disney Channel because I found out that the studio that made this got bought out by Disney halfway through production.
Yeah, Leitmotiv.
And I had no idea what was going on. I just saw Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo, Dennis Hopper in weird makeup that looked like Alan Rickman from Galaxy Quest.
Oh my god, that fucking hair.
And all this dinosaur stuff going around, and I don't know why. I wasn't paying attention to commercials. It wasn't until I saw the movie was ending and they had the title Super Mario Brothers. My thought wasn't just, oh, hey, this was a Mario movie. My thought was, wait, this is a Mario movie? It wasn't the fact that they made it. It's just that someone played Mario and this is what they thought the games were like.
Yeah, apparently, it was inspired by Dinosaur World and Super Mario World or something like that.
And then I just built up this whole fascination where I just needed to have the answer to me of why this came to be the way it is. Still haven't got a definite answer. I probably have to ask the husband and wife directing duo that was kind of a cause for a lot of the problems behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it sounds like that was just the idea they wanted. But it's a movie where I watch it, and it cries out for the fucking but why gif, just because you're watching it and it's like, what? And you could tell it's a film where there was issues of them not knowing what the audience was going to be, because parts of it are very dark, very adult, and then you'll have like really goofy, silly kiddie stuff in it.
Yeah, and then years later we started hearing stories about the behind the scenes filming, like how Bob Hoskins nearly got killed multiple times, either by electrocution or drowning.
Wow.
And even broke his arm. And so there are shots of the movie where they're trying to hide it by painting the cast in like a flesh color.
Oh, God.
Or the bit with the dance club where John Leguizamo explained that they didn't have for some reason they just couldn't hire like basic extras who could dance or just dancers. They decided to hire strippers.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I gather a lot of funny behind-the-scenes stories about this. The most infamous of it all is one of the the husband director. I forget their names, but they're the people
Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, who created Max Headroom.
Yeah, which I have never seen.
I know what he looks like, and I know Koopa has the exact same hairstyle.
All I can tell you is someone impersonated him while interrupting a Doctor Who episode in Chicago.
Oh boy.
They did so Rocky Morton saw one of the extras and thought they didn't look dirty enough, and so literally poured hot coffee onto him and burnt and scalded the actor, and he just walked away not caring.
God damn.
They were such a problem on set that they were pretty much fired by the producers and Nintendo, and pretty much the cast and crew just partied the day after when the news broke out. And I think This is a rumor that a lot of the party celebration of Koopa's death is actually just footage of them celebrating their firing.
That's pretty great. I know there was apparently a shooting day where almost like 3 hours of the day were wasted because Dennis Hopper was just screaming at them over the fact that a scene got rewritten, and then he eventually just did the scene anyways.
Yeah, from what I've heard, he just had to vent a lot of issues because he was also hating the directors. Because it was a case of, like, they've changed, so the actors were hired for this one draft of script. I could never figure out which one they signed on to.
It's supposed to be one of the Dick Clement and Ian Lafreniere drafts.
Okay.
Which are actually pretty good. They're not Mario movies by any means, but they're very well written.
Okay. And when they showed up to film and rehearse, they just did complete rewrites of what they wanted because they got permission by the studio or someone to make it.
Yeah. So we can go into it later when we're doing like the wrap up, but there was this whole thing where they were settled on that script, and then the producers brought in Ed Solomon and Ryan Rowe to do a rewrite without telling the directors that they were doing it.
Ed Solomon, best known for Bill and Ted movies.
Yeah, Bill and Ted and the first Men in Black, I think.
Oh, cool. I'll be doing my friends are going to do, we have a monthly movie party, and this year we've been doing comic book movies, and I think starting next month we're going to do, that time's party is going to be Men in Black.
Cool. Yeah, but yeah, the movie's just like Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, I think, are doing really good jobs in it.
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper is playing Dennis Hopper as Dennis Hopper, but that's always fun to watch.
I saw it as Dennis Hopper playing Neat Freak Dinosaur Trump.
Kind of, yeah. And well, it's one of those movies where it's like, you can tell they had budget issues, because it's like, there should be like an unwritten rule in Hollywood where if you can't afford real cars for your movie, you shouldn't be allowed to put a car chase in. Because it's like they're driving around in like these electric golf carts that are built up to look like police cars. I'm like, I mean, it's not quite as bad as the 15-mile-an-hour motorcycle chase in Escape from LA, but
oh, you want to know the funny part? I think the director of photography did Road Warrior.
Oh god, that's a real come down.
Yeah,
which is funny because in the Clement and Lafreniere drafts, there's this massive fucking like car chase scene in the desert where Koopa sends all these people out to try and capture Mario and Luigi, and it basically is Mad Max.
Okay. The draft we're going to talk about is like I said, the second one, not the first one by the guy who famously wrote Rain Man and got the fake title of Drain Man, the more fantasy adventure comedy draft.
Now, I would love to read the Drain Man draft.
From his words, he had to turn it in incomplete. But
I'd still love to read it.
I'm just curious to know what Mario would be like from that guy.
Because I think that was when they were considering Tom Hanks to play Mario.
Oh, there's been a lot of talk of who was going to play who. The one I've heard most prevalent was that Tom Hanks really wanted to do it, but they decided he was a no-go after his more recent films at that time were bombs, like The Burbs and Joe versus Volcano.
Oh, that sucks, because The Burbs is awesome.
I like The Burbs, and he went on to do, I forget, it was either Philadelphia or Forrest Gump.
Both.
Okay.
He won Best Actor 2 years in a row off those movies.
Yeah. So I feel like if he did this would have killed his career.
Oh, yeah, especially if it ended up
the way it was.
Yeah, because oh, God, I just have to mention one thing about that movie before we move on to the script.
Yeah?
They jerk off that Ba-Bomb so much. Like, there's all this buildup about how, the Ba-Bomb is going to be so important. And then it does fuck all at the end of the movie. It just moves Koopa slightly over to the side so I don't have to animate the T-Rex puppet as much.
That whole thing was like very anticlimactic. Like you really just needed to turn him into slime.
Yeah, because in all the drafts, it's the Ba-Bomb. In the later couple drafts, it's the Ba-Bomb that kills him because Mario drops it down his throat on the Brooklyn Bridge.
That just makes more sense with how the people react when Mario pulls it out at the end.
Yeah, because I don't fucking know what they were trying to do with that. But no, to get back to the script. So eventually, after the Rain Man version was discarded, they bring in Tom S. Parker and Jim Genowine, who are best known for being writers on the Flintstones movie and the Richie Rich movie, which I've never seen Richie Rich, but I have never liked either Flintstones movie.
I always watch the first one a lot, but I think it's mainly because of just how well casted John Goodman was as Fred.
Oh yeah, John Goodman's great, and like the effects work is incredible, but it's just, I think it shows the fact that I don't think the Flintstones is movie material because it's like a sitcom plot stretched out to 90 minutes.
Okay.
But I don't know, it's been a while. I didn't even like that movie when I was a kid, so that says something about me, I guess.
I was a big, for some reason, Kid Me was really into John Goodman.
I mean, as a kid, I guess I would rather play Bedrock Bowling on the PlayStation.
I only had the bootleg game Granddad where they just took a Flintstones game and just put Mario's head over Fred.
Oh god, that's hilarious. But so they wrote a draft, and what we have is a revised draft dated July 17th, 1991. So they presumably wrote a version before this. And this is like a rewrite. We don't know how much of a rewrite. And when they were writing it, Greg Beeman was supposed to direct, who did License to Drive, which I have never seen, but it looks ridiculous.
I just know it as one of those movies with the Coreys.
Yeah, and it's one that's not the Lost Boys. And so, yeah, he was attached to do this, and they had all sorts of concept art put together, some of which you will see in the thumbnail, which I've already made.
Yeah, I even heard they made like an actual piranha plant puppet or animatronic.
I have not seen that. I've just seen sketches.
Yeah, they apparently made it. There's no photo of it around, but I would really love to see what that would have been like.
There's like some clay and paper mache models of what different sets could look like, and one of those has the piranha plants on it. But that's all I've really seen. So yeah, this is a version they were looking at, and so just to get right into it. So it's like I said, it's go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, go on.
Yeah, and so, like I said, it's dated July 17th, 1991. And so it opens with an opening that's actually, there's a few similarities to the final movie, like 2, 3, maybe. And so this opening is actually relatively similar. So it opens in Brooklyn 20 years ago, so there's no specified time frame, so it would be like 1971. As an old man walks down the street through a storm with a baby girl in his arms, and he leaves her on the steps of a church, tucking a mushroom locket with a ruby set into her blanket, banging the huge door knocker and leaving. And the baby is picked up by a nun, but the locket falls out of the blanket and washes away into the sewer. And the old man is then accosted by a cloaked figure and an armored figure in an alley, who wants to know where the child is, but he has a heart attack and dies before he can say anything. And that just sets the tone right there.
There's something about it that I love whenever a character just abruptly dies and something that makes me laugh.
It's like, I like the dialogue here. He's dead. I hope it wasn't something I said.
Also, dated 1991, so this is like probably, this was like a few months before I was even born.
It's a little less than a year for me.
Okay. And then we jump in and meet the Mario Brothers then?
Yeah, we jump right ahead. 20 years, and so Mario and Luigi, they're hooking up a bathtub to water pipes, and Luigi is like playing with the bath toys. He's like, oh, I've got to tell this girl Hildy that I love her. And I'm saying her name now because it takes a stupid amount of time for them to mention her name in the script. And Mario's like, oh, if you love someone, just get a dog.
That's the thing I'm kind of curious about where they got the name for Hildy, because this is back when where the princess in the Mario games had two different names. I think it was Princess Peach in Japan and Toadstool in the US, and then when Mario 64 came out, they just combined it to be a full name of Princess Peach Toadstool. And the movie went with Daisy, the princess from Super Mario Land on the Game Boy.
Yes, and I'm guessing maybe they went, well, she's going to be, in her story, she's going to be raised in the human world, so maybe she should have a name.
It might be because this is Luigi's love interest and not Mario's.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because that's another thing they kind of kept for the movie, is that Luigi is the romantic lead. If you can call him that in this.
I kind of get that, because they just need to have, because if it's supposed to be a Mario Brothers movie, you gotta give Luigi something to do or have some personal goal.
Yeah. I want to go to the Haunted Mansion, Mario.
I want to go around the world and learn about geography while I try to rescue you.
But yeah, and so Mario leaves to get some pipe from the van, and so Luigi decides to do the job himself, and he connects the pipes but makes a tangled mess out of them, which is basically the Three Stooges gag from Plumbing We Will Go, where Curly surrounds himself with pipes.
Yes.
And Luigi, he starts playing a beat on the pipes, which presumably would be the Super Mario theme. And Mario comes back in. And so
and Luigi finishes off with the game over music.
Yeah. And so they leave. They're leaving when Mario berates him. He's like, "You dragged the job out, and and it costs them money." And he even gets upset when he sees him giving money to a bum. And the dialogue here is great. This line here.
Oh, great! I don't have the script.
I have it. I'm scrolling down to it.
Okay.
Is that, "What are you doing? We're going broke and you give money away to a panhandler?" And the bum just goes, "I prefer the title of Vice President of Curbside Collections."
All right, I'm going to try to get the script on my computer because I didn't think to do that.
And so Luigi says he's going to see Hildy, asks Mario for $10, and Mario throws his wrench at him. But Luigi just asks him again. And so we then see the green-eyed Hildy, which indicates that she's the baby from the beginning, in the flower shop she works at, fending off the advances of a guy named Vinny by soaking him with a water sprayer. And Luigi then shows up and, not able to spit it out, just gives Hildy the flowers and attempts to defend her from her boss, berating her about using flowers that were too nice for a cheap package. He says, "There's something wrong with you, son." And they arrange a lunch date. And there's this other woman who's working there who I didn't write down in my notes, but she basically is there to establish that Hildy has the exact same issue that Luigi has, where she just won't say it to him either. So it's Shia LaBeouf's arc from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen.
Oh god, yes.
Only way less annoying, and Luigi does not become Robot Jesus at the end. No, he actually becomes Ash from the first Pokemon movie, but we'll get there.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm just trying to find find where we are. I'm on page 20 with the jeweler.
Okay, you're a little further back. You're a little far ahead. But I'll keep going.
Okay.
But so Luigi leaves, upset with himself for not saying what he intended to, and we see a dark figure watching the shop from an alley across the street. And later that night over dinner at their apartment, we learned that Mario's fiancée Brenda left him for their wedding caterer, who is presumably Cranky Kong, that he promised their mother he'd look after Luigi and isn't entirely happy about it, and that he owes...
No, it should be Wario.
And that he owes money to a mobster named Big Eddie. And he does remind Luigi to put on a sweater when he goes outside, showing that he does actually care about him in spite of his bluster. And I feel like the script could have used a few more moments of that, because they do kind of lay it on thick with Mario being an asshole.
Yeah, there's a lot of bantering that just repeats itself most of the time.
Yeah. And so we get Luigi sitting on the fire escape of their tenement building, looking over the lights of the city, which segues into a dream sequence, which is very awkward the way it happens. Because it's like he looks down at the street and sees himself. I'm
just imagining like the floor above them on the fire escape. There's like they're just doing that scene from West Side Story.
Yeah.
And Luigi just goes, "Can you keep it down? I'm trying to dream here."
So yeah, Luigi and Hildy, they're walking down the street, and he finds the locket in the gutter, only for Hildy to get dragged off by a reptilian claw. And Luigi wakes up and tries to tell Mario about it, but he just tells him to shut up. And the next morning, Luigi gets accosted by two mafia goons outside their building until Mario steps in. Big Eddie Del Pino is there, asking for his money, and Mario says they have a big job coming up, and Eddie backs down. So yeah, that's a plot point in this. It's the mafia subplot from Jaws that they cut out for the movie.
Yeah. There's no Big Bertha. The beaches are fine.
Mario then goes to see City Chief Engineer Ed Farley at the Department of Water and Power with his plans for a retrofit job. And Farley, who is more interested in practicing his putt, wants a bribe to okay the plans and calls him a greaseball shrimp for good measure. So Mario chucks his golf equipment out the window. He's more mad about his height being commented on than the racism.
It's like the Marty McFly, nobody calls me chicken thing.
Yeah. If anything, it made me think of that scene from The Simpsons where the grease gets flooded into the gym, and Nelson's throwing grease balls at people. He goes like, "Here comes a grease ball," and then Luigi, the pizza guy, walks in and goes, "Hey, I'm bringing you free pizza. Why you make fun?" And back at the tenement, Luigi is entertaining the neighborhood kids by bouncing a bottle on his nose, And he tells him the story of the fisherman and the genie and how the former tricked the latter into going back into the bottle. And he just has him throw the bottle back into the ocean in his story. If you actually read The Fisherman and the Genie, that's like a very complicated like set of stories within stories within stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't have time for the whole Arabian Nights here.
Yeah, I just laughed at the little Knicks reference there because I think this was back when they were still seen as like a really good team back in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Today it'd just be like, ooh, that sounds more like a punishment.
Oh, yeah, tickets to the Knicks. So Mario returns saying there were still some details to work out with his plans. And Luigi says he got them a job, but doesn't tell Mario he said they'd do it for free until they're already on their way there. And turns out the job is at the church from the beginning, and the same nun wants them to fix a leak in the basement. And they end up falling over and breaking a whole bunch of old pipes, including one from the sewer, making a huge mess. And Luigi spots something glowing, though, which turns out to be the mushroom locket.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mario takes it to a jeweler who assumes he stole it and threatens to call the cops if he doesn't leave. And so Mario returns to the van, and Luigi begs him not to sell the locket, saying they found it for a reason, but Mario just puts it into a drawstring bag in his pocket. And so in the flower shop, Hildy is approached by a man in outdated clothes who moves oddly. He says his name is... What?
Oh, I was going to say, when I read this part, my mind went to like that weird Christopher Lloyd character from Food Fight.
I have never watched Food Fight, thank God.
It's the Christopher Lloyd clips are the ones you should watch because his character just walks in this really lanky animation, and it kind of fits with the twist of him being just this like fake robot human.
Okay, that's it's funny because going by the concept art, they were apparently looking at Schwarzenegger for this character.
I kind of can see it because he's like a big, intimidating guy, and he could fit with with Bowser or Koopa in this case.
Yeah.
Another alternative they had for some reason was Michael Keaton.
Huh.
Which I can maybe see because he's also he's a versatile comedy actor, so he could probably pull it off, especially in a script like this.
I'm just that. So instead, Birdman, he's Turtle Man.
No, this would have been like, this would have been right after. This would have been This was scripted like while he was filming Batman Returns, so this would have been after that.
Yeah. And so he says his name is Mr. Koopa, and he was sent by her birth parents and wants to check a birthmark on her arm to see if it's really there. And the mark is really her. The mark is there, shaped like an upside-down mushroom. And
it made me think of like those weird tattoos they had underneath their lips in the first Black Panther movie.
Oh, yeah! Or the fucking lip tattoo in Blade 2.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's a birthmark. He was born with it from Mortal Kombat 2021.
Oh, God, yes.
But back at the tenement, Mario meets with Big Eddie in his Cadillac and is going to give him the locket to pay off his debt, but it's been replaced with a rock by Luigi. Because Mario's like, check out this rock I brought you, and it's an actual rock.
My boyfriend got me a ring. My boyfriend got me chocolates. My boyfriend got me a rock.
And so Mario then bolts from the car and runs down the street saying he's going to kill Luigi. And I have to point out, Mario outruns a car in this scene.
That doesn't make sense because they do have the jumping physics are different depending on how you play Mario and Luigi. Like Mario is more of the length jumper, while Luigi was all about the height.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But he runs down the street saying he's going to kill Luigi, and Luigi soon arrives at the flower shop with a pizza and a box of chocolates ready for his lunch date with Hildy. And she explains what's happened and introduces him to Koopa, who shakes his hand. Only Luigi momentarily sees a lizard-like claw instead, and I don't know why this is happening.
Me neither.
Like, this is something they could have figured out in, like, another revision.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's having dreams and shit, and it's like, no? And Luigi also notices a flower he touched has wilted, and Hildy asks Luigi to put off the date until tomorrow, and runs him back to get her purse, and while she's gone, Luigi offers Koopa some pizza, but he says he's allergic to mushrooms and turns away, trying to hide the fact that he sneezes fire.
Also foreshadowing this part.
Foreshadowing, and I'm like, oh, the pizza, so what is this, a Ninja Turtles movie now?
It could stylistically work, especially if they were going for more of the first movie.
Yeah. Hell, even the second movie.
Oh yeah, that too.
Just not the third one.
Oh no. We will at least want to have the ones where we had Jim Henson involved in our puppets.
Yeah. Hildy leaves with Koopa and Luigi looking at the locket, runs after her just as the taxi carrying her and Koopa drives off, giving us a glimpse of the driver's reptilian eyes. So that's kind of a thing that's in the movie. the eyes changing.
Mm-hmm.
Luigi jumps in the van and takes off in pursuit just as Mario comes around the corner and runs after him, the Cadillac in pursuit. A chase scene ensues, and Mario manages to cling to the open back door of the van, eventually getting inside and getting hit by the pipes in the back, much to Luigi's surprise. The taxi turns into an alley, which is soon blocked by a truck, forcing Luigi to stop, and the Cadillac slams into the van. And so Luigi continues the pursuit on foot, with Mario and the goons following behind. They find the empty taxi parked outside the diner, and when they go inside, they find the place looks abandoned, and the menu only features frog-based dishes.
So just nothing but frog legs then?
Yeah, it's like, I guess there's I guess people come in through this diner all the time, or come out from the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah.
It's like a hub.
When I first heard about this group, I figured the way they get in the Mushroom Kingdom would just be like a magic wall thing, like in Beastmaster 2.
No, it's a pipe.
Yeah, that makes sense because I think that's even mentioned in the manual for the first game.
It's a pipe in a diner. But so yeah, frog-based dishes. They move into the back room, which is dominated by a huge pipe sticking out of the floor. And Luigi sees Hildy's purse in the pipe, and Mario, thinking they're hiding from the thugs, follows him in. And the goons come in and check the pipe, but Mario has pulled Luigi into the shadows, and they remain unseen as the goons leave. And this is the last time we ever actually see any of the mob stuff. Mm-hmm. It gets mentioned once right at the end.
Yeah, I figured that would the actual movie kind of built that up better, where the shady business guy that's rivaling the Mario Brothers actually shows up at the end and gets turned into a monkey.
Monkey!
And it has that really uncomfortable thing that is poorly aged with the World Trade Center, looking decrepit and destroyed. And he goes, those people do anything for publicity.
Oh, God. Well, the mobster character kind of became Scapelli in the movie. That's what I mean. Yeah, he gets combined with the engineer guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's another thing that kind of carries over.
Yeah.
And they then begin to fight over the locket, which the locket essentially becomes the piece of the meteorite in the movie. But it falls out of Luigi's pocket and slides down the pipe. And they dive after it, get caught up in an unearthly wind, which sucks them even further. And they fly through a series of pipes at a terrific speed, eventually coming out the other end, falling into the sky before gravity reverses and they come crashing into the ground.
So it's like that gravity thing in Godzilla vs. Kong.
Or the gravity thing in the Total Recall remake.
I didn't see that one because I choose not to.
Oh, they have an elevator that goes through the center of the Earth, and the gravity reverses when they get halfway.
That sounds stupid.
It is stupid. It's the Total Recall remake.
Again, it's why I never saw it.
Without the self-awareness of the original movie.
Exactly.
And so Mario and Luigi... No, wait, I skipped ahead. They begin to fight over the locket again, bumping into another pipe from which emerges a piranha plant. And Luigi sees it and has to punch Mario to get him out of the way. And so Mario and Luigi, they finally look around and they see they're in the middle of a meadow dotted with piranha plant pipes. They speculate as to where they could be, ruling out dreaming or being dead. And they also rule out Brooklyn, Queens because there's no forest in Queens, and Central Park because there's no beer cans or dead bodies.
I love that joke. This is also kind of in the movie, but it's just like a quick line between the two of them when they arrive at Dino Hanton. Where the hell are we? I don't know. I haven't been in Manhattan in a couple of weeks. Must have been a bad couple of weeks.
Yeah, in one of the drafts, they're like, man, these people are all assholes. We must be in Manhattan. It's like, we haven't been in Manhattan for 5 years. They must have cleaned the place up. And so then Mario says they must be out of the city entirely. And they then hear someone calling for help, and Luigi, who thinks they're getting mugged, and Mario thinks they may still be in the city after all. And so Luigi runs off in the direction of the voice. Mario follows, and they find that Toad, a toadstool-shaped creature, has been chained by his feet to a giant metronome between two piranha plants.
And he's screaming about, "Don't hit me, I'm poisonous!"
Yeah, it turns out he might actually be poisonous.
What's funny is that bit is actually in the trailer for the new movie where you see Mario and he's looking around in all of the Mushroom Kingdom. He walks up to one of them and Toad pops out and goes, "Don't touch that mushroom or you'll die!" Oh, my mistake. This one's perfectly fine.
Yeah. And so he says he agrees to show them the way home if they free him, and they do so. And that's when a hover ship flies overhead. It basically looks like an armored galleon with no sails.
Yeah, it's basically made to look like Bowser's ship at the end of Mario 3.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he had a ship.
Yeah, he has it's like his big flying fortress.
Okay. And so Toad says it's one of Koopa's warships. And recognizing the name, Luigi runs after it. And Mario goes like, hey, Toad, show me the way home. And Toad's like, yeah, I just said it so you let me go. And so they find the ship has landed in a clearing. And Koopa is standing at the gangplank, surrounded by his Koopa troopers, half-human, reptilian turtle monsters. And they're all wearing helmets. And there's a point in the script, I forget exactly where it is, where they knock a helmet off and, oh, it's a turtle. It's like, yeah, no one's surprised by that.
Mm-hmm. It would have been good if it was if it was like the spikies, which are the actual turtles that have the spikes on them. And if you try to jump on them, you get killed.
Yeah. So yeah, we have them and the human-like Yeelas wielding spears, and I'm assuming they're original to this.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
When I first read the script, I thought it was like it was supposed to be like a very southern accented pronunciation of yellow, like yella, yellow belly.
So that's their explanation for why there's like people in the Mushroom Kingdom.
So what? The Mushroom Kingdom takes place in southern United States?
Maybe.
We don't like the turtles in these parts here, buddy.
And so Hildy attempts to fight off the troopers but gets subdued. A Yeela lieutenant wants to help her, recognizing her as their princess, but his captain advises him to stand down as they have no power here. And so Beetleman, Koopa's wizard and right hand, who's basically the character from the games who's Kamek or Namek?
Kamek or Kamek.
Kamek, the Magic Koopa?
Yeah.
Who's in the trailer.
Yeah, and he's played by a really good voice actor I love. I think it's Kevin Michael Richardson, who is familiar in doing voice work for video game movies because he's Goro in the original Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah.
It's impressive because he's kind of going for more of he's not using his usual deep voice you hire him for. He's kind of doing like almost a Peter Lorre impression. When I first read the script, when I heard Beetleman, I thought it was like in the Mario 1, there's an actual like beetle enemy that's like impervious that you can't get them with the fire flower. You actually have to jump them, and that's it.
Oh. But he steps down the gangplank, sucks up to his master before waving his wand and undoing Koopa's human disguise, returning him to his reptilian true form, which makes Hildy scream. And so Toad and the brothers are watching this from a nearby hill. Toad advises them to stay down, but Luigi just runs right in there to save Hildy, tripping and falling down the hill until he lands at Koopa's feet. And Toad and Mario are captured by Yeela militiamen, and Koopa decides to treat them to his hospitality, and this turns out to entail the brothers being tied to a tree and about to be killed by what amounts to a giant crossbow, loaded with what's called a goring pole, as Koopa and his men fly off on the ship, leaving them in the hands of the Yeelas. Oh, classic Bond villain mistake.
What? I just leave them in an easily escapable trap and assume it all went to plan. What?
You're an idiot. I love that we both thought Austin Powers at the exact same time. And so, Toad tries to argue their case, but folds when the Yeelas threaten to kill him too. Mario decides to bribe them and pulls the locket out of Luigi's pocket. I did not mean to, alliterate that, but okay. This gets the Yeela captain to order his lieutenant to stand down, saying, "The prophecy has come to pass."
Yeah, and this is something that is, I know it's, been used in later drafts and rewrites where there's a prophecy that the Mushroom Kingdom would be liberated by Koopa by 2 plumbers, and it's also to explain the weird plumber alert they had in the actual movie that's never explained because of either a cutscene or a scene they say enough to film. It's explained that Koopa had all the plumbers in the Mushroom Kingdom killed because of it.
That's a thing in the early pitch, but it does not survive into any of the actual full scripts that I've read.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because there's a pitch, which I'll talk about a little bit more later, that's kind of halfway between this script and the movie.
Yeah, I didn't have time to read the other drafts. I only did this one.
Yeah, I only did. We had a few extra days after I finished reading this one, so I just started reading that stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And so Toad, once again on their side, accidentally hits the release mechanism and launches the pole, shattering the tree as the brothers move aside just in the nick of time. And they all load into a cart driven by a Yeela militiaman and ride off into the woods. And the Yee-Law captain and lieutenant explained that Koopa seized power and wiped out the royal family, except for the king and the princess who went missing, with some rumors saying that the king is dead. And the Yee-Laws were enslaved and forced to fight for Koopa, but the appearance of the mighty warriors of the prophecy means they will soon be freed. And Mario goes along with this largely because they say they'll kill them if they aren't the mighty warriors.
Which, I love that part. That made me laugh.
Yes, there's a lot of great humor. Once they get to the Mushroom Kingdom, the script gets hilarious.
Mm-hmm. We're getting to my favorite bit late. I'll mention my favorite joke when we get to it.
Yeah, I have one very specific line I think is really funny later on, which is my favorite. But
Okay.
and so Toad says they definitely are, though, and that they need to visit his friend Woltan the Wizard to figure out their next move. And so they head to a village and pull up outside the Wizard Union Hall, local 123. and Mario's just like, wait till the Teamsters hear this.
Not to be confused with 123 Fake Street address.
Yeah, and so Woltan is in the back room, essentially shooting craps with the other wizards, only using eyeballs, and they seem to think he's cheating. A bar boy tells him he has visitors, but isn't interested until he's told that they claim to be the prophesied ones. And Woltan storms into the main room of the Union Hall, and he wakes up a couple wizards that are napping, looking for the warriors, and is severely disappointed when he sees Mario and Luigi beating them over the head with his wizard staff. And Woltan dismisses them as imposters, and Mario is about to fight him over it, when Toad whispers to Luigi and tells him to show him the locket. And Woltan says it contains the secret to defeating Koopa and that the warriors should know what that is, once again declaring them charlatans when they don't know. And Mario just wants directions back home, but Luigi refuses, saying he won't leave without Hildy. And Woltan says they'll have to prove themselves worthy by going on a quest, and Mario tries to charge him for the hours.
Well, it's a union law or something. I'm pretty sure you can't just have plumbers go on a quest without having some sort of thing.
Yep, and so while this is going on, Toad sneaks off and hands a message to the bar boy. And so as Woltan takes him to the wizard supply room, Luigi asks why Koopa took Hildy. And the wizard explains she's the last remaining person of royal blood and that he has to marry her to become king. And in the supply room, Woltan opens a quest kit and a creature called Flibbick jumps out, who has apparently been missing for years. And he then tells Mario and Luigi that Koopa confiscated all of their magical instruments and placed them in the pit of no return. And he mentions during this conversation magic mushroom powder.
Yeah, the banter about the pit of no return name is my favorite joke.
Oh, and they're like, yeah, no one's ever come back, right?
Yeah,
So
then if we went there and came back, you'd be the first. Yes.
you had to give it a different name.
Yeah, because we're doing this on November 23rd, Doctor Who's anniversary, and I rewatched some old Tom Baker ones, and there's a similar line in one of his episodes.
And if they bring him back his magic wand, he'll help them fight Koopa. And after some rambling about the name, he shows them where it is on the map. He also points out the outpipes that connect their world, which Mario takes interest in. And so Toad has to go with them as well as a convicted thief. His choices are going along or getting put on the Metrodome again. So they put him there because he was a thief.
Yeah, which I kind of like that idea with Toad.
Yeah. And the wizard tells them they'll find magic at the bottom of the pit, but to only take one item per person. As they leave, Woltan hands Luigi three silver coins, telling him to use them wisely. And as he watches them leave, he chats with a buxom barmaid and pinches her butt.
For kids.
I know, it's really funny because there was apparently some concern from the Leitmotiv studio that this script was skewing too young. I'm like, are the kids really going to get the jokes about the sexual harassment in the Union Hall?
When, again, the actual movie had strippers.
Yeah, and the scripts had very noticeable sex jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the bar boy sneaks off to his room and sends off Toad's message on a flying carrier turtle, telling it to head to Koopa's castle. Toad, you bitch. And so as they set off on the road, Toad and Mario, they exchange insults, and Luigi gives away the coins to a beggar in a black cloak who was hidden in a pile of leaves and gets a bean in exchange.
Yeah, this is very much a more fairy tale influenced Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, definitely, as opposed to Dino Hatton.
Which it kind of fits with the style of the games, where it's like this magical world where anything can happen, usual stuff and where in some cases in the more modern games, you go to what's basically New York in Mario Odyssey.
Oh, yeah. But so, yeah, Mario, as usual, is not happy about this, and the beggar watches them as they walk away, and we then watch the carrier turtle approach Koopa's castle, and we go inside to see Hildy get shoved into her bedchamber by Mugger, the leader of the Koopa troopers.
Which took me a second to understand that was his name, because I for some reason thought, did a New York mugger just ended up in the Mushroom Kingdom with them and decided to work with Koopa?
Yeah, that's a fair point. But in the main hall, Koopa is telling Beetleman that he hated his father for being weak and that they lost everything because of him. And Koopa explains that this will never happen again, as once he marries Hildy, the crown of invincibility will be his and he will be unstoppable, and it's literally sitting right there on a dais.
It's just, he's going to put it on and turn into Bowsette, and there are going to be a lot of inappropriate artwork.
Oh, God. And so Beetleman points out the problem that for it to work, she has to marry him willingly, which means she has to actually fall in love with him. And Bowser suggests that Koopa try being nice to her, suggesting some generic small talk, like talking about the weather and her fucking cloak.
Which, that's adorable and funny, and it's funny that this is dated in 1991 when they did a similar joke in the Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. And Koopa decides to try this out and heads to the bedchamber, just blurting out the suggested lines to no effect. And he then tries to get close to her, and she punches him in the face.
Yeah, this reminds me of Princess Peach in the Mario Adventures comic they did for Nintendo Power, where she really doesn't like being captured.
Yeah. And Koopa then explains to her that her parents are both dead, and that he was appointed to take over the realm, obviously lying. And so she doesn't believe him, biting his claw and trying to make a run for it, getting stopped by Mugger, before Koopa just locks her in the room again. And back in the main hall, Koopa is unhappy that Beetleman's advice didn't work, and the wizard proposes a new plan to cook up a love potion. It has to work as the wedding is in 2 days, and the invitations have already been sent out. That's a great joke.
If I was writing this, I would add a third joke where it's like, besides, we lost too many of our troops because they were licking the envelopes because we used the cheap kind.
Oh, yeah, like in Seinfeld.
Yes.
Beetleman leaves, and Koopa tries to touch the crown, only to get shocked, so he's the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, if I were to pin it down, this is like one part Jack and the Beanstalk with maybe elements of Wizard of Oz meets Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, that's true. And so Mugger soon enters with the Hammer Brothers, Koopa's 2 hit turtles, bringing Toad's message with them, and it presumably tells Koopa that the brothers are alive and where they're going. We don't actually see the message. So he sends out Mugger along with the Hammers to kill them. So the Hammer Brothers, they're a thing from the games.
Yeah, they're the most annoying opponent because you can't get close enough to them without getting hit.
And they're in most of the other drafts, too.
Yeah, there's like always a pair of them. It's like a multiple level thing, and they will move, and they'll jump on no matter how hard you try to avoid them, they'll always jump on the same floor as you are.
Yeah, in the other drafts, they're Mario and Luigi, they're sneaking into Koopa's tower through the basement, and in one of them they run into the Hammer Brothers, who are 2 repairmen, and they see their tool belts and think they've been sent to replace them, so they start throwing their hammers at them.
That's actually a funny idea.
Yeah, and so after they leave, he cracks open a dragon fruit, not the real kind, and eats the black worms found inside. And back with Mario, Luigi, and Toad, they've stopped the camp for the night in the landfill of lost items, where the stuff people lose is continuously dumped in from pipes connecting to our. That's actually a really fun idea.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I've seen this idea done in another thing, but I can't remember what.
Yeah, I do too. It's definitely in something else. But back at the castle, Koopa returns to Hildy's bedchamber and offers her a box of chocolates, which she makes a show of not wanting despite being hungry. And Koopa pretends to be hurt by this and leaves, and Hildy eats one once he's gone. And Koopa and Beetleman watch this through a peephole, and the wizard explains that she has to eat all of the chocolates for the potion to take effect. He says, yeah, I did to minimize side effects like drowsiness, dizziness, blah, blah.
Koopa, this is not how you get consent.
No! But he assures Koopa it will work once she does so, and she will love only him.
I wonder if this was the script that was tossed around when Tom Hanks tried to get to be the lead, because my mind immediately went to Forrest Gump.
Well, I mean, yeah, a love potion is like a box of chocolates, only in this case, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
So we go back to the landfill. Luigi finds their father's Swiss Army knife, which he gave to Luigi years ago, who lost it. And this brings up painful memories for Mario, who really wanted the knife and is sure he wouldn't have lost it. And later that night, Luigi is asleep and turned away from Mario and Toad, who sit at the campfire. And Toad asks what it's like to have a brother, and Mario rants about he's been stuck with Luigi since their mother died, and stuck with the business since their father died. And he refers to having a brother in multiple nasty ways, including having a stone in your shoe you can't shake out. And it's like, so yeah, you know what's... So you're glad you don't have a brother now, right? And Toad's like, I'm glad I don't have you as a brother. And we see that Luigi has been awake all this time and heard everything. Play the soap opera music.
I feel like I feel like this would also have the bit where like Luigi hears this, runs off, and he doesn't hear the last part of Mario going, but I would never leave him.
Yeah. And so the next morning, Mario wakes before Luigi and Toad and checks out the next fork in the road with the sign pointing one way to the pit of no return and the other way to the outpipes, and gets an idea. So when they eventually come back from the pit, they're going to have to change all the signs. And so later on, the three of them are traveling down the mountain road, and Luigi is sure the map showed the pit being in the other direction, but Mario won't let him check it, and they fight rolling down the slope. And they find themselves next to a slave labor camp where Toadstoolians, Toad's people, are being forced to harvest dragon fruits, and are watched over by Goombas who look like them, only fiercer and gray. So we've got Goombas.
Yeah, although in the games they're brown, but I'm willing to let that change slide when the movies decided to go with what they went with.
Giant people with tiny heads.
When they're supposed to have tiny bodies, huge heads.
Yes, and there's not a really long elevator scene in this that goes on forever.
I kind of like that one because it just seemed like the case of they were bored and they just needed to have something to make them laugh, and they decided to go with, let's just make the Goombas, Mario and Luigi trick the Goombas to dance because it's the only thing getting us through this whole production.
Oh, and the payoff to that is really funny later on. It's just, we could have had a few less clips of them circling around the elevator, because that goes on for a while.
Yeah, but then we won't have... Then they would probably fill it up with more jokes about Koopa wanting his pizza.
Yeah.
I found out that was supposed to have like an actual end to it, where the punchline is that the pizza guy shows up and he's like, ask where Mr. Koopa is, and he slips onto the slide that he turned into.
Oh, okay, and so the Hammers soon ride up to the camp and ask one of the Goombas something, presumably about the brothers, and leave when the Goomba shakes its head. And the path they're on will lead them close to where the three are hiding, so Mario gets an idea, and they hide in a cart attached to a cable like a ski lift that's being filled with dragon fruits. And a disappointed Luigi realizes that Mario switched the signs, but Mario doesn't want to talk about it right now. And Mario, that was a dick move.
Yeah.
The Hammers, who are passing by above the camp, spot them inside the cart and order the Goombas to stop it. And Mario hits the Goomba controlling the cart with a shovel, accidentally knock him into the controls and making the cart speed up. And the Hammers jump into the next cart and begin their pursuit, while Luigi tells Mario he'll continue on his own. And the Hammers start throwing axes at them, so, this is a little like Resident Evil 4. So Mario and Luigi pitch the dragon fruits like baseballs back at them, managing to knock one out of the cart, who I'm guessing dies.
I don't think there was ever like a ball-themed enemy, but I do know in Mario World you had like an enemy that was like a football tackler.
Of course. And the remaining Hammer throws an axe, which cuts the cable and makes their carts plummet and slide down the mountain.
For some reason, my mind went to like that one shot in the ads for the My Bloody Valentine 3D trailer.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a pickaxe in that movie.
Yeah, and the Hammer keeps attacking with his axes, but is foiled when his cart slams into a tree. And the other cart keeps sliding, crossing a road behind 5 Koopa Troopers led by Mugger. And the brothers and Toad duck out of sight, but Mugger's horse senses something off and pursues the cart with his troopers. And the cart crashes into a huge tree stump, and a door in the stump opens from which a hag emerges. And she agrees to hide them from the troopers if Mario agrees to help her break her curse by kissing her and returning her to her normal, beautiful form. Because she says it has to be a handsome man. He goes like, hey, have Luigi do it for you. He's like, nah, you're more my type.
I mean, this joke could work at Tom Hanks. He was a handsome guy back in the day.
And so Mario eventually agrees to just a peck, but then the hag really lays one on him, but it doesn't break the curse, and she hides them anyways.
He at least tried. They at least tried it out.
Yeah. And so Mugger and troopers eventually pass by and they emerge again. The hag saying that the kiss didn't work because Mario's heart is cold. And Luigi takes the map from Mario, determined to head off on his own, but Mario still follows after him, with Toad following close behind. And so back at the castle, Koopa is on the steps to Hildy's room when he gets the news from Mugger that the brothers have escaped. He says he'll hunt them down himself in his airship. And so Koopa visits Hildy, who is not only more favorable towards him, but is starting to look more like him, too. Like, she's not turning into a lizard, but she's getting really hideous with the makeup.
I would love to have seen how that turned out.
Yeah, and she's like painting her nails green and stuff. And she starts to realize something is wrong when she looks in the mirror, but he distracts her by saying she should eat another chocolate, and she does. And meanwhile, the brothers are walking through a forest while Toad rambles on about his life and how unfair it is until Mario tells him to shut up. And so Luigi stops to check the map, and Mario rests against a large rock. However, it soon cracks open because it's actually an egg, and the baby brontosaurus-like creature emerges. And
I'm wondering if this was their way to work in Yoshi, because...
it is.
Okay.
And the concept art doesn't look... I think they got the dinosaur name wrong. But...
It's just that Yoshi is not really a brontosaurus, it's more a bipedal dinosaur.
It's more a T-Rex.
Well, in the movie it was a T-Rex. I always figured it was like the duckbill ones.
Yeah, but so Mario... And so, like, it flicks out a bright red tongue and pulls Mario in, thinking that he is its mother. And Luigi and Toad are so amused by this, Toad decides to call him Mario Jr. So he's Yoshi, but he's Mario Jr.
What's funny is that this is kind of an actual premise for an episode of the Super Mario World cartoon, but it's with Luigi, and we have Yoshi keep calling him Mama Luigi.
That's great. And so he continues to follow them, offering Mario the fruit he grabs off a tree with its tongue, and I'm like, this is just like that scene in The Phantom Menace, where Jar Jar is grabbing the fruit off the table.
Yeah. In Super Mario World, if there's a certain fruit in the game, if Yoshi bites it, he eats it, he can shoot fire once in a while.
Okay, and so Mario insists he isn't his mother and that he should go look for her, making Junior cry. And Luigi tells him to find his mother, and they leave him sitting by the road. And they soon arrive at the pit, which is 50 yards across, very deep, and has a staircase winding down its side to a cave. And there's a sign nearby saying, entered 57, returned 0.
It makes me wonder what person goes up there to keep check of who comes in.
Yeah, and so they descend down to the cave with Mario almost falling into the abyss when a step breaks. And they soon enter the cave. This is one of the best scenes in the whole thing. They soon enter the cave and find it littered with skeletons. Further in, they enter a hallway with spiked walls that starts to close in on them. And Luigi uses a sword in a nearby skeleton's hand to jam the walls long enough for them to get through before it shuts. Mario calls it a piece of cake, but a mysterious voice taunts him, calling him a pipsqueak. The trio creeps forward, and when Mario steps on a tile that depresses, a thwomp crashes down, nearly missing the two brothers. It swears and returns to the ceiling, and Mario almost gets hit by another thwomp. And it's like censored swearing.
Yeah, that is definitely a really good joke.
Let me see if I can find it.
Okay.
I'm getting there. I'm almost there.
Yeah, I found.
He goes, missed. Urgh.
Yeah, because I play way too much Mario 64, I just keep hearing the sound effect of whenever you try to fight a thwomp in one of the levels.
You got away, you blockhead. You can't do anything right. Look who's talking. You missed him by a mile. Shut up.
I can see this kind of reworked into a Robot Chicken sketch where, like, when you have enemies drop down from the bottom screen and they go back up and you're wondering what they do when they go back up.
Yeah. And so Mario figures out which tiles to avoid, and then a Bob-omb walks in out of nowhere, counting down from 10, and jumps. Yes, and it jumps into Mario's arms, and the trio toss the bomb back and forth for a bit, which is legitimately right out of a Three Stooges short. It's called Spook Louder.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
And then before Mario deliberately triggers one of the thwomp tiles and places the bomb on it, as the thwomp crashes down and dies in the explosion, and Mario goes, "Thanks for dropping in." Mario just murdering a thwomp.
Yes.
Complete with a Schwarzenegger one-liner.
Yeah, I love that. Mario's kind of an asshole in this compared to how he is in the games, but I love it.
Yeah, and compared to how he is in the movie. And so they continue on, entering the final chamber with the magic items in it. And Mario pockets a jewel, ignoring the one item per person rule, while Luigi takes magic mushroom powder, which cures curses apparently, remembering what Woltan said earlier. And Toad opens a jar labeled flying gear, taking the red leaf he finds inside it. Like he opens something else and it like screams at him, and then he puts it back.
Yeah, I think that's a reference to I'm trying to remember which power-up it is, but there is like a power-up that can make you fly in this. I'm trying to remember if it was Mario 3 or Mario World.
Well, it becomes a specific power-up later, but we'll get there.
Okay.
But Mario finds the magic wand, and they're ready to leave. And as they go to the exit cave, they find that the spike walls are still closed. Luigi suggests using the wand, but it doesn't work for Mario. And Luigi tries it and gets it almost immediately, claiming to know good wand technique. And Mario snatches the wand back. They make it to the entrance of the cave, where a voice says, "Give it back," and a stretch ghost grabs Mario and attempts to drag him into the wall. So there's another game reference.
Yeah, boo.
And Luigi tries to yank him back out, then the jewel falls out of his pocket, which the ghost grabs, goes, "Mine!" And Mario gets spat out of the wall.
Don't remember if the boos could actually take items from you, but it seemed like something they could do.
Maybe. And they then climb out of the pit, only to get caught by Mugger, the troopers, and Koopa, who have all arrived on the hover ship. And Toad tries to help, telling Koopa he sent the message, and that Mario and Luigi are harmless and should just be taken to the outpipes. Koopa agrees, but then kicks Luigi and Toad into the pit, saying he was just kidding. And Mario is like pissed because he thinks Luigi's dead. He leaps on Koopa, starts strangling him, and he says, this is my favorite line, "My people don't forget, they have a thing called vendetta."
It sounds like something like a mob boss would say.
Yeah.
Which I kind of would love to see. I would go back to my Robot Chicken comment, but I could definitely see that as another parody where it's like the Mario brothers are working with the mafia in some form.
Yeah. And so, however, Toad, while they're falling, hands the red leaf to Luigi, who sprouts raccoon ears and a raccoon tail, and then switches back and forth to fly with, so it's the Tanuki Mario powers.
Yeah.
But he's flying with his tail and not with the giant ball sack like they do in Pompoko.
I don't get that reference.
Oh, you've never seen the Ghibli movie Pompoko, where they can where the magical raccoon dogs can use their giant ball sacks to do anything.
Oh, I've seen clips of that.
Yeah, they make giant parachutes out of their ball sacks and that. I swear I am not making that up to anyone listening to this. This is a real movie that exists.
I remember now because back in the early days of YouTube, there was a series called AMV Hell where they comedically put songs or audio from other shows into clips of anime, and one of the videos I remember is footage from that, but it's set to AC/DC's Big Balls.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's a weird movie because it's very Japanese, very socially conscious. Isao Takahata trying to make a cute, whimsical Miyazaki-like movie, and the two flavors just do not mix. But so it's awkward, but he manages to catch that conversation we just had. But he manages to catch Toad and land on the bottom before the power times out. And so back at the rim of the pit, Mario's pulled off Koopa, swears revenge, and Koopa orders him thrown over the edge as well. And that's when a long tongue reaches out behind the boulder and grabs one of the troopers, dragging Mario over toward the pit. And Junior steps out from behind it, here to save his mother. Mario slugs the other trooper and jumps on Junior's back, speeding away into the forest. So yeah, Yoshi! Who does not have a cookie here.
Or an island.
Nope. And at the bottom of the pit, Luigi no longer has the tail, and Toad, I wrote Road instead of Toad, spots a giant pile of mold dung, so they run off down the nearby tunnel. And so, that's one big pile of shit.
Funny.
Jeff Goldblum is Toad. Imagine that.
It would have been funny because remember the movie came out I think pretty close to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I think the movie was August or September, and Jurassic Park was July.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mario and Junior evade the troopers by hiding behind a fallen tree, and Mario once again encourages Junior to go looking for his own kind because they can hear the noises in the background. But Mario realizes he doesn't like being all alone, even if that's what he wished for. But, they hear the cry in the distance, meaning his species is nearby, and he reluctantly goes to join his own family. So bye, Yoshi. You did a lot more than you did in the actual movie, and you weren't even in it that much.
Yeah, you kicked ass while some lady literally tried to stab you or shoot you.
And so Mario then spots a figure ducking behind a tree who turns out to be the beggar disguised as the pile of leaves from earlier, who in turn turns out to be Woltan in disguise, which makes me wonder if he was also the bum at the beginning.
If I was to do like a rewrite of this, maybe that would have been interesting.
And Woltan wants his wand back, and Mario gives it to him, saying he's going to head to Koopa's castle for revenge, and asks Woltan if he's going to help, and the two set off together, and we then go to Hildy's bedchamber, where she eats one of the 4 remaining chocolates, and her transformation has continued to progress, all as Koopa watches through the peephole. Meanwhile, Beetleman is busy. It's like he's making a magic potion, but it turns out he's just mixing a cocktail.
Which I love that, because I can see that shot being done where you like only see the top half and him like you just see him moving his arms, but you're not exactly sure what he's touching, and you just hear the noises of like glass kinking, pouring, and all that. And then it just pops, and then you zoom out, it's just him literally starts pulling out a shaker from off camera, shaking it, and just pouring it into a glass.
Yeah, and his crystal ball, which is full of attitude, alerts him to a source of powerful magic in the kingdom, and he's like, well, yeah, of course there is. I'm right here. He's like, it's not you. And it shows him Mario and Woltan walking together, and Beetleman begins to form a plan. I'm going to have to find that scene.
I think I'm on there.
Beetleman.
It's like around page 77, 78.
Oh, also, right before Koopa throws him in the pit, he says, after due consideration, I've decided to let you go. Yeah, the crystal ball says, oh yeah, here comes another quack solution.
Like this, I mentioned Mario, Super Mario RPG earlier, but some of the best jokes in Super Mario RPG kind of feel like this script.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, even though I don't think because it wasn't like it was basically Nintendo giving permission to another company. I'm pretty sure they never read the script.
Mario and Woltan are walking down a meadow road when a storm rolls in, and Woltan is confident that his magic will protect him from the elements.
Oh yeah,
only for a lightning bolt to incinerate.
Yeah, this is probably my other favorite joke.
It's pretty great. And so Mario retrieves the locket from the ashes and tries to open it to no avail, and continues on towards the castle. And meanwhile, Luigi and Toad are continuing down the tunnel when the mole appears behind them and gives chase. And the tunnel soon dead ends in the cave with an opening high above them, and Toad begins to confess about selling them out to Koopa, while Luigi pulls his father's knife. But the bean Luigi traded for earlier falls out of his pocket and lands in a pool of sunlight. And a giant beanstalk grows up from the earth and pushes them up and away from the mole, depositing them in the forest above.
Which the moles were from Mario World, which are another annoying enemy, because they'll never stop following you.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And the beanstalk is basically a hidden, one of those hidden coin blocks you can hit, and will just give you like a bonus stage where you can get a bunch of coins and skip through like almost a half the level without having to encounter enemies.
That's cool. And so Toad tells Luigi not to bother about his confession, and Luigi, who pretty much knows what he was talking about anyway because he confessed it right in front of them earlier, asks him to come along to find Mario and rescue Hildy, and they set off again together. And so Mario crests a hill and sees the unusually quiet castle, and hearing Hildy calling for help, makes his way there. Luigi and Toad soon come over the hill as well and follow after him. And Mario enters a deserted main hall, finding Hildy chained to the wall. He frees her from the chains just as 2 Yeehaw guards rush in, wielding spears. Mario reaches for Hildy's hand, but finds himself holding on to Beetleman's hand, who says, "Your princess is in another castle," as the illusory castle fades away.
I really love that way they worked in that line.
That was funny.
Like, you thought it was funny. I thought it was actually kind of a cool, badass line for a villain to say.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It's more than just a reference.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that was just great. I read it. I'm like, oh, they actually did it.
Yeah, like you said, it really does. It's not a reference for a singular reference. It makes sense in the context of the story if you haven't played the games.
Yeah, and so Beetleman orders the guards to throw Mario somewhere painful and rides off to the real castle, which is nearby. And
they punish him by putting him in a dungeon and have to play Hotel Mario.
I've heard.
It's sad that that's the best of like the Nintendo licensed CDI games.
Oh God! Let's not talk about that. I'm aware of the Zelda games. Jesus.
Okay, back to the script.
Yeah, and so Luigi swings in on a vine the actual Vine, not the long dead social media thing, to rescue Mario, but misses and crashes into a tree. Both guards run for Luigi, though, and Mario takes advantage of this and takes them both down. And Toad rejoins them now that the danger is past, and they make their way to the castle, putting on the guard's armor and climbing into a drain pipe to sneak in. Toad doesn't want to go in, so they tell him to stand guard there, and when he admits to being a coward, Luigi says, "No, you're not." And inside the castle, Koopa's stag party is underway, complete with an intro by Beetleman and a reptilian dancing girl who is a stripper.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this part.
So maybe this is where they got that idea from.
Yeah, maybe.
She backs into an alcove just as the disguised brothers climb out of the grate in that same alcove, hidden by a curtain. And Koopa wants the dancer to come back, though, and the troopers pull back the curtain, revealing Mario and Luigi in disguise, and Koopa thinks they're the fools hired for the party, and they have to improvise a song to maintain their cover.
Yeah.
And Bugger notices Luigi's green overalls peeking out near his feet. And all I can say is, the song, I'm not going to sing the song.
No.
But once again, Ninja Turtles 2, it's like when Vanilla Ice just spontaneously sings and choreographs the ninja rap in that scene near the end.
What's funny is this also could be you could say this was actually used in a movie, but it's a deleted scene where the Koopa cut is because you remember how they got smarter, tried to go after Mario and Luigi, and then when they went back in the city, they decided to work together instead to get the meteorite rock. In the scene of the dance club, there was supposed to be an impromptu rap number between the two of them.
Yeah, I've seen. I glanced at the shooting script, and it's like, for some reason, that part of the script is diagonal.
Okay, that's weird. But they've actually filmed it, and you can find it online.
Yeah, I know. There's an entire alternate cut you can find on the Internet Archive. I haven't watched it, but
it's pretty much the theatrical cut with only like 3 major deleted scenes. Like, if you saw the theatrical cut when they were at the de-evolution chamber and Mario and Luigi escape, you noticed how like Koopa or one of the guards slips on like a pile of slime that wasn't there before because they de-evolved Koopa just de-evolved one of his underlings because he sneezed in front of him to the point where he's primordial ooze.
Okay, so foreshadowing the ending?
Yeah.
And so they leave the main hall after finishing the song and head to Hildy's chambers, where they find that the love potion has turned her into a makeup-covered skank who's into Koopa. And Luigi just manages to get through to her as the troopers arrive and carry them off. And the distressed Hildy eats another chocolate, leaving only 2 before the spell is complete. Mario and Luigi are taken to the dungeon, where the dungeon keeper places them in a cell with an ice floor, which he says freezes every night and melts every morning, and when it melts, they'll be eaten by the razorfish that live in the water.
So probably been the bloopers or the giant fish boss Bertha.
Oh, yeah. And Toad... okay.
The bloopers are the green and red fish enemies you get in the original Mario Brothers.
Okay. And so Toad, outside the drain pipe, paces back and forth, arguing with himself about whether he should go in and help Mario and Luigi. And he even gets in the pipe once just to immediately back out and say he'll give them 10 more minutes.
I just want to correct myself earlier. My mistake. Bloopers are the squid enemies in the water levels. The fish ones are called Cheep Cheeps because they're also, I guess for the cut corners in the graphics, they just also doubled them as birds for some levels.
Oh, that's weird.
It works in the design because they do look like a part fish, part bird creature.
Yeah. And so in the ice dungeon, Luigi asks Mario how he told Brenda he loved her and is distraught because it's too late for him to say so to Hildy. And he then tells Mario that he loves him and reveals that he made the same promise to their mother before she died because she was worried that Mario would become bitter and hateful and he's worried that he failed. Aww.
Well, more bitter and hateful than he already is.
As a gesture of goodwill, he gives Mario the Swiss Army knife and he reluctantly accepts it, saying it won't do him any good now. And the next morning, they're awakened by the sound of the cell's ceiling retracting, revealing a huge magnifying glass, which is used to speed up the melting process.
Again, another slow-moving, easily escapable trap, only this one seems more difficult to escape from.
Yeah. But Toad, still outside, awakes and finally talks himself into entering the pipe. In the bedchamber, Hildy, now done up in a horrid green wedding dress, hair, and makeup, is being attended to by a handmaiden who gets her to eat the last chocolate when she expresses some doubts, which completes the spell. Koopa, who is watching at the peephole, fist pumps in triumph.
I feel like I would have moved this last part later where like they show up when it's just right too late. Mario and Luigi show up right when it's too late, and she already takes a bite.
Yeah. And so the wedding ceremony is prepared in the main hall, only it's completely empty of guests aside from troopers acting as ushers. And this upsets Koopa, and Beetleman tries to talk him down by saying they all called in sick, all 10,000 of them. And
you know what my mind thought of when I saw that the Koopa Troopas being like the ushers? I just keep thinking of like that bit from the Simpsons Halloween episode where they parodied King Kong and a monkey shows up at King Homer and Marge's wedding, but it's like a turtle person. Are you with the bride or groom?
And Beetleman tries to convince him that a smaller ceremony is more intimate to keep Koopa from ordering the execution of thousands. And so in the ice dungeon, the ice is rapidly cracking and melting, leaving the brothers stuck on a single dwindling piece of ice as the razorfish begin to attack. And Toad, who has managed to sneak into the dungeon, takes care of the dungeon keeper by poisoning him with one of the toadstools that grow on his head. Because that was mentioned earlier, there's a scene where Toad is eating the toadstools off his head.
Yeah.
And he heads to the ice room. He confesses to Mario and Luigi that he betrayed them to Koopa because he wanted to be important, but they really don't care and just want to help getting out of there. And Toad's tossing a whip, and he keeps missing, and he gets like a razorfish stuck on it at one point.
That was good.
But eventually Mario holds on to it as Toad pulls the ice chunk to the door. And in the main hall, Beetleman is performing the ceremony, the crown pedestal just to the side as the trio arrives on the balcony overlooking the hall. The ceremony is almost complete, and Mario, seeing the two chandeliers over the hall, plans to swing on one to jump on Koopa and knock him over while the other two grab Hildy. The chandelier snaps, though, and he falls on top of a squad of troopers.
What's great is that, again, this is very much how the Super Mario RPG opens up, where it's like the ending of a normal Mario game where you rescue Peach from Bowser, and the fight takes up to both of them on the chandeliers. And basically, the trick is you have to attack the chandelier chain instead of Bowser, which causes both of you to fall down to the floor and knock out a bunch of Koopa Troopas.
Yeah. And so Mario grabs a lance to fight them off, and Toad jumps on some Goombas who are about to attack from behind. The wedding vows are completed, and Luigi swings out over the hall, sprinkling the magic mushroom powder over Hildy as she is about to place the crown on Koopa's head. And this breaks the spell, but a startled Hildy drops the crown on Koopa's head, granting him its powers anyways. And Luigi and Hildy declare their love for each other, but they get subdued along with Mario and Toad. Koopa says he's going to slowly dismember them, but Luigi throws what's left of the mushroom powder in his face, remembering his allergy. And his
pocket hand!
Yeah, he's Dale Gribble now. As Koopa uncontrollably sneezes fire all over the hall, the four of them make a break for it. And Koopa shoots a red beam of magic, which follows them down the hall as they run for the dungeon. And it hits Luigi, who starts turning to stone, and asks Mario to leave him. Mario says brothers don't leave brothers, and Luigi realizes that Mario really does love him. And Mario, he's just like, yeah, didn't you say I was like a stone in your shoe? He's like, well, I guess you're an even bigger stone now.
But that bit reminded me, I forget which Chris Farley movie it was. It was Black Sheep or Tommy Boy with the line, brothers don't shake hands, brothers gotta hug.
That's Tommy Boy.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but just as he turns to stone, he tells Mario to remember the story of the fisherman and the genie.
Yeah, Luigi turns to stone, like you said, like Ash in the Pokemon movie.
Yeah, and there's no fucking Pikachu to cry on him.
Or another Pokemon, I think, as I've been reading the Pokemon manga, much different from the anime. That's what happens with some of the characters, but instead that's like a evil trap to capture like a legendary Pokemon that turns like most of the cast into stone, and they stay like that for like a whole year until like the next chapter or saga starts.
Is that the manga that's like more adult oriented?
Only in the beginning. It's like early installment weirdness stuff where you have like a Charmeleon decapitated Arbok, but after a while it just becomes more like a fun adventure manga.
Because wasn't there one which had like Naked Misty in it or something?
That's a different one. That's the manga adaptation of the anime.
Oh, that's
where they hired
Electric Tail Pikachu?
Yeah, that's the one that was famously written and drawn by a guy who at that point was mainly known for hentai.
Yeah. We just went down a weird rabbit hole.
I mean, it's technically still Nintendo related.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Nintendo currently has the best video game movie in Detective Pikachu, so...
And I hope they keep that track up with this upcoming Mario movie, Chris Pratt aside.
Yeah, we can talk about that a little bit at the end.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, but okay, so Mario this part reminds me of the beginning of Batman and Robin, where Robin gets frozen, and Batman just picks him up and carries him like he weighs 2 pounds.
Yes!
And Mario carries the stone Luigi. He runs off into the dungeons with Hildy and Toad, with troopers in pursuit. Their way gets blocked by 2 chain chomps on each side of the hall, but Hildy beats them by standing just long enough in their path and jumping away at the right moment for their jaws to get caught on each other. And they soon come to a stone-lined spillway with muck flowing into it. And that's when the troopers catch up to them, throwing razor-edged Roto discs at them like they're the fucking Predator in Predator 2, which Mario deflects using the stone Luigi, and I'm sure he appreciated that, Mario.
Would it have been great if like a piece of his nose or ear tripped out, and then when he changes back, he started bleeding like crazy?
I'm fucking deformed!
Fuck you, I'm dying!
Mario gets Hildy and Toad to climb onto Stone Luigi, using him as a raft. How fucking big is Luigi? Take off down the spillway.
Well, he's the taller of the two.
And yeah, this is basically a scene that's in the movie. Like, they apparently really like the idea of sliding down a pipe.
And again, this is like a good thing. It kind of predicts something in the games. That's kind of an actual sliding race levels in Mario 64.
But yeah, that chase scene in the movie where it's like, oh, you sped up the footage to make it look faster.
Yeah.
And they go down the spillway, emerging from an opening in the castle's underground foundation, with the stone Luigi raft stopping just before they fall into a massive river of lava. Have you seen the river of lava?
I just realized that physically, if this was realistic, Luigi would sink.
Yeah, but maybe Mushroom Kingdom physics are different. Who knows?
Yeah, in Magic World, I'm willing to let that slide. It's just one of those things you realize, like, wait a minute, rocks sink.
Can you not also build bridges out of stone? But okay, so Hildy spots a rickety rope bridge that stretches over the lava, and they make their way to it as Koopa flies down the circular staircase that leads down to their location using the powers of the crown. Also, so this is just the bridge from Shrek, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Mario and company are in the middle of carefully moving Stone Luigi across the bridge. Strong wood! When Koopa bursts out of an iron door in the foundation and appears on a cliff above them. He unleashes a gust of wind breath at them, knocking Mario over the side. And while Mario hangs on for dear life, he yells at the locket to open, and it does. A ball of light with Woltan's face in it flies out of it, and the wizard says he lied about the locket, containing the secret to beating Koopa. The secret, he says, is in Mario, and the ball turns into a glowing butterfly and flutters away. There needed to be a line here where Mario was like, you best.
Yeah, it really would fit if Mario was like, that's it? And not Nintendo related, but my favorite game series, Persona, there's like an ongoing theme where like a movie, the games open and end with like a glowing butterfly. So I thought, does that mean that Mario's the wild card? He can capture personas and fight them?
No, it's Fairy Mothra from Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. No, but
that too.
Yeah, it reminds me of the fucking ending of Crawl, where it's like, I lost the glaive. It's like, no, the power wasn't in the glaive. The power's in us. It's our love.
Or Spaceballs with the Schwartz ring.
Yeah.
I found the locket in a Cracker Jack box.
And so Mugger, Beetleman, and the troopers arrive, but Koopa says he'll deal with this himself. And Mario has Hildy and Toad move Luigi off the bridge and walks back into the center to face Koopa. So he's getting his badass moment here, who is standing back at the bridge's start. And so then Koopa does the classic video game thing of copying himself with one ahead and one behind Mario. But Mario just taunts him and makes him angry, getting him to blow fire and destroy his double when Mario ducks. So it's like the fucking twins in Fatal Frame 2, where there's one is a doll and one is an actual ghost.
Yeah. Come on, Mario. All you just needed to do was grab an axe, or at least just shoot him 16 times with a fire flower.
Yeah, those aren't in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to fight Koopa hand to hand, who just extends one arm and drags him to him, hitting him with an uppercut that sends him flying. I'm pretty sure that fucking happens in the fucking extending arms happens in the BioShock script I covered. Mario just barely clinging to one of the ropes at the bottom of the bridge, and Koopa walks over ready to cut the rope with his claws, and then Mario remembers the fisherman and the genie story, and when Koopa calls him a little man, he pretends to actually get angry about it, and turns it against Koopa, saying, yeah, I'm a bigger man than you'll ever be. And Koopa responds by using the crown to make himself 8 feet tall. And Mario goads him into making himself even taller at 12 feet. And Beetleman, noticing the bridge is about to break, goes, hey, Koopa, it's a trap. And so Koopa hovers above the bridge. And then Mario says, hey, your shoe's untied. And when Koopa bends over, the crown, which didn't grow along with him, falls off his head and plummets into the lava.
Ooh. That was pretty clever.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And so Koopa shrinks back to size and comes crashing down, grabbing onto the same rope Mario was clinging to, only further down. Beetleman wants to help him, but Mugger orders the troopers to stand down, and the wizard acquiesces. Mario cuts the rope below him with his father's Swiss Army knife. Nice payoff there. Mm-hmm. And Koopa plunges into the lava. And a huge fiery Koopa head emerges from the lava. Mario just yells at it to go away, and it does, collapsing back into the molten river. Which that's the one thing in this where I think would have been too expensive for them to do in 91.
Yeah.
Like everything else in this, it's like, if Ridley Scott could do all the shit he did in Legend in 85, they could easily do this in 91. Except for this moment right here.
Yeah.
And even Legend resorted to darkness turning into an action figure and flying off into the...
I mean, it worked in Turkish Superman.
And everyone celebrates, including Mugger and the troopers who are glad to be free of Koopa, and even Beetleman's like, yeah, I didn't like him very much. And Luigi's stone shell cracks open like at the ending of Ghostbusters, restoring him to normal, if a little stiff, and the butterfly returns, transforming into Woltan, and Mario berates him for not helping, but the wizard waves his hand, after which he is beardless and is wearing the crown and the royal cloak, revealing himself to be the king. And introduces himself properly to his daughter. And he has like this line, goes like, I was hiding and growing my beard for all these years. And we then go to the meadow of the Outpipe, where Woltan congratulates the heroes, and says he's going to make the barmaid his new queen and make lots of new heirs, allows Hildy to return to Brooklyn as well.
Wow, Dad, I just finally reunited with you, and I already find out you're good, and I don't want to have the thought of you banging a barmaid.
Mario and Luigi and Toad are awarded with tiny, unimpressive medals, with Woltan saying they're still infinitely richer, but in their hearts. So Toad actually gets a medal, unlike Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about Rise of Skywalker.
I'll just stick with the fan-edit Star Wars Revisited, where this guy did a really good Photoshop edit to have him have a medal.
And so Mario isn't happy, but Toad definitely is, saying he may run for village elder, and Mario's like, yeah, politics is a suitable career path for a thief.
Whackity-schmackity-doo.
And so Mario, Luigi, and Hildy step towards the Outpipe when the hag just shows up and surprise kisses Mario. And she turns into a beautiful woman this time, but before Mario can take it any further, the Outpipe sends them home. Mm-hmm. It cuts to 3 months later, where the brothers have managed somehow to pay off Big Eddie, and are eating with Hildy in an Italian restaurant. And we see that Luigi and Hildy are now married, and Mario says he's too busy with work to be seeing anyone, and that's when he sees a woman sitting at a table by the window, who looks just like the woman the hag turned into. And we see him approach her and sit at her table from outside the restaurant, and then we see the van's logo has been changed to Super Mario Brothers Ace Plumbers, before the camera rises above the street and we get the stars and the street lamps are glowing, and it ends.
Yeah. This was a pretty fun script.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, the main thing about this is that it feels like it's made by people who are really excited about making a Mario movie.
Yeah.
Which, like, the movie is not.
No. This is like it feels like a script of parents who, these are the people who wrote the script. I have the feeling that these guys had kids who really loved Mario, and they just really wanted to try to impress them and actually play the games and understand it to make it as best as they want it to be.
Yeah.
Because there is some changes in to actual lore and history. Maybe some things are not quite right, but it still has that feel of a fun adventure movie.
Yeah, I mean, how much concrete lore really was there in 1991?
Yeah. This is back before Charles Martinet cemented that Mario had an Italian accident. Everyone in Nintendo portrayed him always having a Brooklyn one.
Yeah, and it's just really fun, and I think if they had made this it would be in the conversation for best video game movie, which is funny because the existing movie is kind of in that conversation too, which says a lot about the landscape.
Yeah. I wouldn't go so far. I would probably put I don't know. I would honestly put Street Fighter, the first Street Fighter movie, over it.
That movie's at least funny.
Like, Raul Julia is going out with a bang.
And fucking Van Damme coked out of his mind. Going, rah, rah.
Yes.
But no, but it would be like in the top 10.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the top 3 is like Detective Pikachu. I hear good things about the Sonic movies.
I'm not a Sonic fan, and I really actually enjoyed them.
I really like the first Mortal Kombat. I like the first Silent Hill, even though it's not a great adaptation.
I haven't seen those because I never played the Silent Hill games.
The first movie probably works better for you if you haven't, because it was kind of my introduction.
Okay.
The second movie is just terrible, but it's terrible in a fun way.
I can't stand any of the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah, they're mostly bad.
It has that problem I have with a lot of those 2000s movies where we have a sexy woman in tight leather outfits where it just all blend together and just feel like the same Matrix ripoff.
Yeah, and what's weird is that they get even more Matrix ripoffy as they go on.
Exactly.
That reaches its apotheosis in part 5, and then by the time Anderson made the final chapter, he had a new editor, and it turns into just Bourne-inspired, like, really bad shaky cam.
Yeah.
Which apparently continues to be the case in the Monster Hunter movie. And Welcome to Raccoon City it's not a good movie, but it felt like it tried.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Johannes Roberts really was trying with that movie, but like Constantin Film was being really fucking cheap. And they were being really cheap, really interfering. Like he wanted an R-rated horror movie, and when he did that, they cut the budget by like $30 million or something. It had a $60 million budget, and they cut it to like 30 or 25 or something like that.
Oh, I just remembered also, one thing I did before we record this was I watched, because the Bob Hoskins movie is actually the second attempt they did at a Mario movie. The first one was a Japanese-only animated film.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It's weird because it's also kind of connected to the last episode I was on with Gundam, because Mario is played by Toru Furuya, who is a Japanese voice actor best known for playing Amuro in Gundam. And apparently he was like the Japanese voice of Mario for a lot of media by Nintendo up until they decided to basically go through and just have Charles Martinet be the voice of Mario.
Yeah.
It kind of fits in the same vein as this one, but it kind of just has a funny scene with a character from the games, musical number, funny scene with a character from the games, musical number, for about 90 minutes up until they rescue the princess. Also, Luigi's yellow and purple for some reason.
Okay. So he's Waluigi. So he's both Wario and Waluigi in the color scheme.
Yeah. I still take that over how they never wear their iconic colors up until like the last, 10, 15 minutes of the movie?
Yeah, and they do wear them throughout the script.
Yeah.
And it's not like they just find random clothes in the locker, too. It's very strange. But yeah, so what happened with this version is that Greg Beeman was supposed to direct, but he did a movie called Mom and Dad Saved the World, which was a huge bomb. And so Leitmotiv, which I forgot to mention, is the production company of the dude who directed The Mission, Roland Jaffe.
I also know this is like what the producers for these movies was well known for producing The Killing Fields.
Yeah, I think he may have directed The Killing Fields as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like a weird... it sounds like he only picked up the rights to Super Mario Brothers because he saw that Batman and Ninja Turtles were really successful.
And I think Nintendo went with it because it was... they didn't want to deal with like bigger studios, and they also had they basically also got... They were able to get money from the merchandising from this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and so Beeman gets fired, and they went looking for replacement directors, and nobody wanted to do it. They approached Harold Ramis, who turned it down, which he would have actually done a good job with this, I think, if he had stuck with this version.
Yeah, I could definitely see a Harold Ramis Mario movie fitting well.
It wouldn't have been his worst movie. I've seen most of Year One.
I've seen clips of Year One, and
that movie sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of funny for like the first 5 minutes, and then it just kept getting worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he turned it down, and the only people who accepted it were Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, creators of Max Headroom. But I think they wanted to start from scratch and do their own version.
Yeah.
And so they bring in the screenwriters Parker Bennett and Terry Runte, who are credited on the movie. And the first thing I have from them is it's like this 9-10 page pitch where clearly they've already met with the directors and they're basing it on, and they're clearly riffing off of the Parker and Genuine script because there's all these fantasy elements and they're like, and they've already used the name Daisy, who apparently her real name is Princess Toadstool in this version.
Oh.
And the locket's in it and everything, but the locket is like more important. And Koopa has designs on the real world in this version. And the city engineer, the reason he's locking Mario out of all the big deals is because what he's specifically working on is doing something with the pipes to allow Koopa access to our world.
Okay.
And in that version, it's where the prophecy about Koopa being defeated by plumbers comes from. And all the plumbers in the kingdom were killed except for Mario and Luigi's father, who escaped, and he left them this plumbing guide, which when they get to the Mushroom Kingdom, it turns into a magic talking book that helps them. And
so it's Mario meets the Page Master?
Yeah, kind of. And it basically what it is it's this script with like the Dino Hatton concept bolted onto it with like the dinosaurs that evolved into people. And like the Pit of No Return is in it, but it's been changed into a dive bar on like Fifth Avenue or something like that. And like Koopa actually does have like a stone castle and everything.
I remember hearing somewhere like in one of the later drafts, there's like a bit where Bowser or Koopa is like really has like a golf scene or something.
That's in their draft.
Okay.
Because yeah, they did a draft after this, which is basically just, it's already more towards the movie. It basically is the movie just with different stuff here and there. And there's like a big scene in the middle where Koopa is like taking out his enemies with a giant golf ball. It was a very strange scene. I didn't quite follow it.
Then there was there another draft after that? Because the only one I remember now is the Rainbow draft that was basically the hodgepodge of different rewrites and stuff.
There's a few. So Bennett and Runte did their draft, and then something was going on where they weren't able to do more. They got let go because they were rushing towards production or something. And so Dick Clement and Ian Lafreniere, whom I know, they've done a ton of stuff in England that they're known for. I mainly know their like uncredited stuff because they basically rewrote Never Say Never Again almost completely during production.
Oh.
Because the Lorenzo Semple script was apparently awful, but they had to start shooting or schedules wouldn't have worked out. And like one of the big changes I know is at the beginning had Bond in like full armor at a Renaissance fair doing jousting. And also apparently Semple wrote Fatima Blush as like a bald man-hating lesbian. And so Clement and Lafreniere, they rewrote that, and because of the experience of working with them on that movie, Connery brought them in to rewrite his dialogue in The Rock.
Oh.
Now, sadly, I don't think I can credit them with the prom line. I think that was a Tarantino rewrite.
It does feel like a Tarantino line.
But he apparently brought them in to give the dialogue, his character's dialogue, a more British flair, because in the original draft by two of the credited writers, his character isn't even English. He's just a guy who's good at escaping from prisons. Mm-hmm. But that was a movie because it was a 90s Bruckheimer movie, so it had like 15 or 20 fucking writers working on it.
Yeah.
And so they come in and they write it and they move Super Mario Brothers even more towards the movie, and they replace the golf scene with this insane Mad Max chase through the desert, which, holy crap.
Which, as I said earlier, it kind of has something Mad Max related with, I forget, it's either the director of photography or the cinematographer, probably both.
Yeah, and we're getting a new Mad Max movie soon, so...
Really? I thought we were just getting the Furiosa.
Yeah, well, we're getting the Furiosa spinoff, but it's part of the series.
Okay.
Hopefully George Miller is able to do another Max movie after that.
Yes, please.
Yes, please, but I'm not going to complain about getting another Anya Taylor-Joy movie, so...
Who is playing Princess Peach in the animated movie.
Yes, that is true. And so Clement and Lafreniere wrote their drafts, which got everybody excited, got the cast signed on. But then Leitmotiv, because they needed extra money, they started a distribution deal with Disney. And because they were afraid Disney wasn't going to like the more adult script, which had scenes like There's like a scene where I'm not clear entirely what's going on in it, where Koopa and Lena are like really sweaty and like the room's been like destroyed. And she goes, "Oh, that was great. Now let's have sex."
What were you doing before?
Yeah, it's not explained what they were doing, but there's a scene in one of them where like he's really eager to get the meteorite pendant, so he just rips Daisy's shirt open and she's naked for a scene.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and so they said, okay, let's make it more family friendly. So they bring in Ed Solomon of Bill and Ted fame and a co-writer, Ryan Rowe, and they do a whole new draft. And then Morton and Jankel get the script the day they get to set in Wilmington, North Carolina, and they're pissed. They were so pissed they almost quit.
Mm-hmm.
But then they decided, okay, we can try and save this during production. So Ed Solomon does some more rewrites, and then he has to leave. And then Bennett and Runte just showed up on set for a visit and got drafted to do the final rewrites. And that's how you end up with the movie we got being a complete mess.
Along with the directors being total assholes to the cast and crew.
Yeah, and then the movie bombed, killed their careers, and I don't know if it contributed to their divorce, but
Wouldn't surprise me. The only other is I think the wife directed a movie recently, but I've just forgotten the title.
yeah, I haven't looked it up, but
I know
yeah.
at least know she's been working on stuff.
But yeah, so, and it was such an embarrassment for Nintendo. No more adaptations until now. Now, I actually liked the teaser for the new movie quite a bit.
Same here.
I'm worried that it's Illumination, so I'm kind of worried about that. But
yeah, but my problems with Illumination is usually the writing thing, never the animation itself.
yeah, so we'll see. The only really good movie they've ever made was the first Despicable Me, and then they just kind of stopped trying. But the teaser's good. Bowser's awesome.
Yes.
The fucking penguins are funny.
Which made me happy because they were Mario 64. I'm a big Always Sunny fan, so I'm all for Charlie Day's Luigi. I can kind of see... we haven't seen it yet, but I can definitely see Seth Rogen being a carefree, laid-back Donkey Kong.
Yes.
My only Keegan-Michael Key's a big surprise because he actually does sound like the game version of Toad, just not as annoying. My only real negative is like Chris Pratt.
I didn't mind the two lines I heard from him.
He sounds like the mom from Bob's Burgers.
Okay, I've never seen Bob's Burgers, so
someone actually did get the actors for the mom and Bob's Burgers to do the lines like for like a Twitter or like a cameo thing, and there's no difference.
That is pretty funny, but the movie, at least, I'm hoping it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping it doesn't suck just because I don't want it to be a bad movie. And I'm hoping it does well so that Nintendo opens up to other stuff. Like, give me that live action Zelda movie, man. I
heard that there are talks of doing like a Netflix series, but they're doing a wait and see with this movie first.
Yeah, well, what I heard was that it was that whole thing with Netflix came out, and then because it was way earlier than Nintendo wanted it to be like publicly known, they pulled out of it.
Oh, so it's just like what happened with the Devil May Cry project.
Oh, the Netflix anime?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be in continuity of Castlevania?
Yeah, because I think Capcom did not want to work with be connected to a franchise made by a rival company.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. But at least Castlevania was really good.
Yeah, I'm just sad because I'm a huge Devil May Cry fan too, and I know that you have the script for one of the movies of that. And
yes, that was actually an episode, but the audio fucked up, and we were
I read the script, and I promised me I don't want to be on that because it would just be me being way too angry.
No, me and Epic Candle, we recorded an episode, and the audio fucked up, so it didn't end up getting posted. And we've mentioned to each other doing it again, but it's such a bad script and I don't have the notes anymore, and I really don't want to read it again.
And like I said, I don't want to be part of that just because it would just be me being too much angry. It would be 10 times more of the rage I had when they tried to reboot it.
I was angry and I haven't even played any of the games. It was that bad of a script. But
okay, well, I'm happy to be on here again.
Yeah, but I think we've talked this one to death. I will say, compared to the other video game scripts I've covered, I'd put this over the Guggenheim draft of Uncharted. I'd put this over the Clock Tower script we read. I'd put this over the fucking Tomb Raider draft with the fucking tit fucking centipedes in it.
Ugh.
Uh,
Where would this fit next to Romero's Resident Evil? Because that's the only one I've read.
maybe above it, because Romero's Resident Evil it's not a bad script, but there's a few things that really make me groan whenever I read it, like some of the dialogue.
Yeah.
We live here now.
Hopefully I'll come on again. I just didn't want to do another anime related thing yet. So
yeah, you pitched Macross to me, and it slipped my mind.
You pitched me Space Battleship Yamato or Starblaze, which I would like to read that one because you told me that one was actually good.
Well, it's a good script. I don't know if it's a good adaptation.
It's not that hard to mess up with Space Battleship Yamato. Earth is dying, alien race says they can help, and they send a spaceship based around a World War II battleship to go in and save everyone.
Okay, my only interaction with that show is the random stock footage that shows up in Gamera's Super Monster.
I do like the live action movie. That one, the one that was made in Japan by the same guy who did the upcoming Toho Godzilla movie.
Oh, okay. But,
yeah, it's good. It follows the series, and then it goes in its own direction afterwards, which actually was a really good twist.
But no, comparing this to other video game movie scripts, it's better than those early drafts of the Mortal Kombat reboot, which the movie wasn't great, but it's so much better than those were.
I really do think like it's a case of I really didn't like the reboot, but I feel like a sequel could improve upon it.
Yeah, and I think I liked a couple of the Tomb Raider scripts a little bit better than this.
I'm going to have to take your word for it because I have never read any of those, and I'm not even a Tomb Raider fan.
Yeah, I'm not either. I like the newer games, and that's it pretty much. But yeah, we've talked this way too much to death. So
see ya. Bye.
So yeah, with that, until next time, guys. Bye.